I think it's finally time I made this video. I have been avoiding it for the past week. Every time I even think about making it, I get sick to the stomach. I think it's finally time I talk about Beneil Dariush versus Charles Oliveira. And it pains me, it hurts me to the core, it makes me so depressed. But Beneil Dariush is going to end all the hype, all the hope, all the frustration is going to come out because all the doubters are going to be so angry about Beneil Dariush winning and putting down Oliveira and get it an easy, I wouldn't say easy, but getting a convincing victory over Oliveira. It hurts me. And a little bit of personal info about myself. I'm a huge Oliveira fan. He is my #1 favorite fighter to watch in the UFC. I love me some Charles do Bronx, do not get me wrong. But when it comes to this matchup, it is, next to Islam, it is the worst possible matchup for him. The last thing Charles needs is a guy who can crack on the feet and a guy who can survive on the ground, who will not be scared to go on the ground if he does end up dropping or rocking Oliveira, because he will go to his back if he does get rocked. And Beneil Dariush is that guy who will go to Oliveira because he, I wouldn't say got exposed, but he got shown that if you can rock him and he does go to his back, you can survive on the ground. And Beneil Dariush is not no Poirier. Beneil Dariush is not no Gaethje. He will not fear Oliveira's ground game, especially when he has him rocked. He just won't fear it. And people massively underrate the striking of Beneil Dariush. He is not a bad striker. In fact, I think he's one of the better strikers in the lightweight division. If you watch my tier list video, I think you could put him in A tier. I went back and watched some of his fights. He is an A tier striker in my opinion. He just happens to be wild sometimes. So when you take a quick glance at a strike and you're like, this guy can't really strike. No, it's just wild, but he's extremely technical and he has some nasty body kicks. But his best move, the best strike that he throws overall is his overhand left. He can time that thing like no other. And what is Oliveira most weak to? Southpaws who have a nice left hook, a nice left hand. That is what's Oliveira's biggest weakness, is that specific strike. The bro, dude, I love Oliveira, man, but he don't move his fucking head. He just doesn't move it at all. That's his main issue. If Oliveira had good head movement, if he knew how to avoid a left hook, bro, oh my God, this man wouldn't even get dropped by Gaethje. He wouldn't even be dropped by Poirier. He would sit them down, finish them off in the first round like they were nothing. Even though he did it to Gaethje, he would do it even earlier. Poirier would be the first round. He wouldn't have to worry about getting dropped twice in the first. He would just take Poirier's back. He would rock him on the feet, take his back, and then sub him just that quickly. But he doesn't have that. He doesn't have good head movement. And when Beneil Dariush finds his timing, finds his range, he can land on anybody. And he can definitely for sure land on Oliveira. Because I don't want to say, I really don't want to say it. I don't want to say Oliveira got exposed against Islam, but he got shown that you can be safe on the ground with him. And Beneil Dariush's ground game, again, it's just super underrated. I don't see him fearing at all going to the ground with Oliveira. And when I watch back some of the film, I watch back some of Beneil Dariush tape, he can be wild at times, but he's always knowing what he's doing. He's not, when he's wild, he's not doing it uneducatedly, if that's even a word, but he's doing it intelligently. That's a better word for it. He's smart with the way he's wild. He's not just out there just throwing whatever he wants to throw because he can throw it. He'll throw a left straight out of nowhere and then dip out the way. He'll throw the overhand right up against the cage offbeat on a nice off timing. That's how he caught Gamrot with it. So he's really smartly figuring out how to incorporate his left hand. And against Oliveira, that will be a huge, and I mean a huge weapon, and really the main reason why I'm picking him to win this fight against him. And with both of their, I would say, elite level ground game, obviously, I don't need to go into Oliveira's jiu-jitsu because he has, I mean, amazing jiu-jitsu. But Beneil Dariush has just, I wouldn't say has just as much, but has really accredited jiu-jitsu as well. So I don't really see them really trying to take each other down. Again, even if Oliveira even tried to shoot a takedown, Dariush's takedown defense just is so elite. I was thinking Gamrot was going to have his way on the ground against Beneil Dariush. I thought he was going to take him down and abuse him, and then if things got to the feet, he would beat him up on the feet. But Dariush shut that shit down. He said, no, you're not. Gamrot, you're not taking me down. My takedown defense is way too good. So Charles Oliveira, who granted doesn't even have the best entries when it comes to that, I don't think he'll be or even have much success at all, even attempting to get Dariush down. So this will be a strictly, and I mean a strictly straight up battle on the feet. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm going to have to go into some of the details when it comes to how does Oliveira have a chance. Because right now, I think I have it around a 60, 65, 35, 40 split between Dariush and Oliveira, with the favor going to Dariush. Dariush can be open. His chin isn't always the most perfect. Obviously, we saw in the Alexander Hernandez fight, he got put down. We saw him against Edson Barboza get put down. So his chin isn't bad. Like, I don't think his chin is really, I wouldn't call it a bad chin by any means necessary, but I would say that it is crackable. He has shown proof of it being able to be put down, and with a guy who has as much power as Oliveira does, he can definitely take advantage of those opportunities that may present itself against Dariush. But Dariush's defense also is very good, but there is some sort of lackingness that I do see in Dariush's defense when it comes to engaging in the clinch. For a really good example, he gets kind of weird whenever he tries to engage in the clinch, and that does leave him open to get hit by hooks. There was one instance, I believe, in the, I don't know if it was a Scott Holtzman fight, which was, again, years ago. But when he's trying to engage in the clinch, he is able to be hit. And that is one of Oliveira's biggest strengths, is the clinch game, being able to take advantage of those moments. So that's where I can kind of see Oliveira having some level of success, because we all know how Oliveira is going to fight. He's going to pressure, and maybe it might overwhelm Dariush at one point, and he'll be forced to try to clinch up to get some space or to help himself get away from all the hooks coming his way. And that's where Oliveira can have success inside the pocket, doing some dirty boxing, stuff like that. But Dariush is also good at that kind of stuff as well. That's where he's really underrated. Again, I'm gonna keep reiterating how underrated Dariush is, because he is really underrated. Oliveira can't see. We forgot about this. If you didn't know, Oliveira has, I think he's really nearsighted. That's why he always wearing glasses, because he can't see people up close or something like that. So it makes sense why he just pressures and just throws shots all the time, because maybe he thinks he's in range when he's not. This was one of the reasons why I think Oliveira's head movement is so bad, because Broski cannot see. He just can't see, and there's times where he'll just freeze. And it's the weirdest thing you'll ever see. It's the weirdest thing you will ever see is Oliveira just standing there, not moving, just looking at his opponent. That's how he got dropped by Poirier with the left hook. I think he threw a left hook of his own, threw one of his own, and then put it down and just stood there and just watched the left hook come around his face and get cracked by Dustin Poirier. Broski cannot see, and if that's Dariush, it's problems. Oliveira cannot afford to get dropped. He can't afford to really get hurt at all against Dariush. He needs to fight, I think he needs to fight an almost perfect fight or get a freaky fast finish. That's his only hope. And it pains me to say that. That's genuinely his only hope. But there is still possibilities of Oliveira taking advantage. Maybe he can come in there and just put the pressure on, walk down Dariush, and just beat him up and break him down. He can do that. I think he has the style to do that as well. He just needs to be able to not get hit in those exchanges. He needs to win pretty much the majority of the exchanges and not get rocked or hurt. Find a way to avoid that left hand, because Dariush will throw that left hand from awkward angles. He'll dip down, holding all the way forward, then come out and just blast it into your face. Dariush throws a really sneaky left straight, and I'm worried that might crack Oliveira on the chin because he just can't see. So what Oliveira needs to do, which is not really particularly in favor of his own fight style, is he needs to really focus on leg kicks, because I think he has some of the best leg kicks at lightweight, and he can really check them as well. He has good defensive leg kick awareness and offense not awareness, but he has good leg kick defense and good leg kick offense. That's a better way to describe it. He has both of those in his arsenal. And keep at range with a teep, always front kick, which he always does already. But he needs to play a little bit of that, I wouldn't say range game, but really keeping Dariush honest. That's his best way to success, is making sure that he doesn't present, he makes it extremely difficult for Dariush to make reads or to find his timing on that left hand, so he can always, keep that at bay and avoid it for the most part of the fight. And then eventually probably catching Dariush. I don't see this going to the decision. I think that this fight I would be honestly shocked if this fight ended up going the full 3 rounds. I don't think it's going to happen at all. Then again, it's MMA. Anything is possible. However, I think this will be too much of a firefight, too much of a war in the first round for either one to make it out of the third at all. It's just the way it's going to be. Oliveira has that style where it's kill or be killed. It's finish or be finished. So if you do want to bet, if you do want to put some money on, I would definitely put this one on not going to a decision. That would be probably the smartest bet. But man, I just don't think Oliveira has enough in him. I don't think his chin might be spent, because when's the day? I'm waiting for the one day where Oliveira just goes out cold. Just goes completely out cold, because chin's got to crack eventually. When you're taking damage like that, your chin has to eventually go out, and you have to go out cold at some point to a shot. Be solid in Ferguson. Eventually, Max Holloway, I hope I never see the day, but eventually Max Holloway's chin is going to have to go 99 goodbye unless he retires early, because it's going to happen sooner or later. And Oliveira is that guy. I would put him at the top of the list for guys' chins about to crack. I would put Oliveira right at number 1, because that brother is close. So for him to not get his chin cracked, he has to be able to out-technical, outpoint Dariush on the feet. And another thing I think people always kind of overrate about Oliveira is how good his striking actually is. We all know his striking defense isn't the best, but how good is his actual striking? And maybe we need to reevaluate how good his striking truly is. If he can't roll his back, if he can't use his jiu-jitsu as a defense mechanism whenever he gets rocked or hurt, how good is his striking really? And I don't know. What happens in the Poirier fight? What happens in the Chandler fight? What happens in the Gaethje fight? Does he just get finished? Granted, Chandler hopped on top of him for a little bit at the end of the first round. But again, I don't know. But would Poirier just finish him? Would he just put him down and then finish him on the ground? Would Gaethje do the same thing, just ground and pound him out until he was out cold because his jits is somewhat mid? If that was the case, it takes him so much damage and he has to really survive until he can land. And with Dariush, I don't see that happening. I don't see it happening. I think Dariush will find that left hand, put Oliveira down, second round, TKO. I hate to say it. I want to pick Oliveira. I would be screaming to the rooftops. I would be yelling at the top of my lungs if Oliveira finds a way to pull this off. But I have to look at this objectively. And from what I've watched and from what I've heard from other YouTubers, they all make sense, man. They all make sense. Beneil Dariush by second round TKO. Rip Oliveira. Now, if you enjoyed this video or you disagree with me and you think Oliveira might win, leave your comment down below. Make sure to like and subscribe as well. Hit that bell icon. I would greatly appreciate that as well. I do stream the cards on Saturdays, so if you do want to come and join me in a live fight companion, you can come listen to me and not Michael Bisping's dumbass. So that's all I have for you today. Peace.